Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's update on Hurricane Ian. So, Hurricane Ian continues to rapidly intensify, and as of 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Monday, September the 26th, Hurricane Ian has maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 965 millibars, and is moving north-northwest at 13 miles per hour. Looking at the satellite imagery of Hurricane Ian is classic look of a rapidly intensifying hurricane. It's got very nice outflow on all sides. It's got a strong core of convection that is starting to really wrap around the center now and is maintaining the consistent deep convection around the center. And we are seeing rain bands moving into Cuba and even some rain bands still east of the Cayman Islands. So Ian is going to continue to rapidly intensify over the next 12 to 24 hours as it moves into the southeastern Gulf over western Cuba. So looking at the official latest hurricane cone for Hurricane Ian is expected to become a major hurricane right as it's making landfall in the western tip of Cuba tonight, and then by tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be having a major hurricane in the southwest Gulf. By 2 p.m. Wednesday, Ian is expected to be approaching Tampa, Florida as a major hurricane now, and this is where it is getting really, really dangerous. Ian is expected to slow down and move from here to here between Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning. So areas across western Florida, west central Florida, especially Tampa, are going to be seeing uh, strong impacts for a 24-hour period at least. So if you're in Tampa, make sure you are really making your hurricane preparations. If you're anywhere across the West Florida coast, make sure you're making your hurricane preparations because this is going to be a serious, dangerous event. And it eventually makes landfall Thursday afternoon as a Category 2 hurricane, and even after that, it moves west of Jacksonville, Florida, Friday afternoon, and moves into Georgia and South Carolina by 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. We have hurricane warnings in effect for western Cuba in the red, and then tropical storm warnings in effect for west central Cuba in the blue. We now have hurricane warnings in effect for areas of west central Florida and the western Florida Keys, tropical storm warnings in effect for southwest Florida and the central Florida Keys, hurricane watches for the northern uh, peninsula of Florida into the Big Bend area, and tropical storm watches extending all the way to Panama City Beach now. And we even have tropical storm watches around Lake Okeechobee and on the east coast of Florida up through southeast Georgia. So this is going to be a high impact event for much of Florida. And if you are in Tampa, you really need to be making hurricane preparations because could be a very dangerous event. Looking at the spaghetti mold guidance now, in the next 24 hours, Ian is expected to move north of Cuba. In the next 48 hours, it is expected to move into the far east central Gulf. And in the next 72 to 96 hours, Ian is expected to slow to a crawl as it approaches Tampa, Florida, and eventually make landfall in the next 96 hours. And in the next 120 hours, it is expected to move into the southeast. And now, a lot of models are starting to take Ian over the west central Atlantic and make another landfall in South Carolina and or North Carolina in the next 96 to 120 hours. So we're going to have to watch this as well now too. Looking at the hurricane intensity model plots, uh, Ian is expected to become a Category 3 hurricane in the next 12 to 24 hours, and many models are taking Ian to a Category 4 hurricane in the next 36 to 48 hours. And now we are seeing a possible landfall as a Category 2 or 3 hurricane as the track continues to shift further and further east. Looking at the latest European model for Hurricane Ian, Ian right now is unfortunately it's verifying weaker than in reality on the European. The European model has a 997 millibar central pressure, where Ian currently has a 965 millibar minimum central pressure. So this is actually verifying weaker than Ian is in reality. So moving over the next 12 hours, Hurricane Ian is expected to make landfall, even in the European model, as a Category 2 hurricane, strong Category 2 hurricane, but likely a Category 3 by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then going into tomorrow afternoon, Ian is expected to emerge over the southeastern Gulf and is expected to continue to intensify. And then as we go into Wednesday, September the 28th, Wednesday morning around 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we are looking at a 958 millibar hurricane sitting 150 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. And going into, now notice how this barely moves through Thursday morning at 11 p.m. We still have Ian as a Category 3 hurricane sitting about 50 miles west of Tampa. And this is going to lead to some dangerous flooding and rainfall totals. And even as we go into Friday morning, look, Ian is barely making landfall in the Big Bend of Florida in the European model from by 11 a.m. Friday morning Eastern Daylight Time. So Florida so the Florida Peninsula is going to be seeing impacts for 48 hours from Ian. This is a bad situation. And then the European model moves Ian into Georgia and the Carolinas Saturday and Sunday. Looking at the GFS model, looking at the GFS as of 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time this evening, the GFS model is verifying weaker than reality 2, showing a 975 millibar hurricane, and quickly makes landfall in Cuba overnight tonight as a Cat 3, and the GFS model by 11 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday morning has a Category 4 hurricane sitting southwest of Tampa by about 100 miles. And the GFS makes a direct landfall over Tampa and crawls it over western Florida through the overnight Wednesday night, and through the day Thursday. We see that Ian barely moves during the day Thursday, and this is Friday now. By Friday 11 a.m. in the GFS model, Ian has barely moved towards west of Ocala, Florida. And finally, in the GFS, by Saturday and Sunday, we see Ian move and slowly dissipate over the southeast. Now, looking at these rainfall totals, these rainfall totals are going to be concerning to say the least. The European model is now putting from Tampa through Tallahassee through Jacksonville 4 to 10 inches of rain, with isolated locations seeing 12 inches, and from about Tampa to Orlando southeast about 3 to 5 inches. And for my friends in Cuba, you'll be seeing about 3 to 8 inches from Ian. But notice this huge core of extremely heavy rain just offshore. If Ian nudges about 50 miles to the east, we could be seeing areas across West Florida, including Tampa, seeing up to 20 to 30 inches of rain. And then across Georgia and the Carolinas, and even into Tennessee, the European model is putting about 3 to 5 inches. Looking at the GFS model for rainfall accumulations, The GFS model is putting widespread 4 to 12 inches across the Florida Peninsula and has that core of 20 to 30 inches inching even closer to Tampa. And areas like Clearwater and St. Petersburg could be getting 15 inches in the GFS scenario. And the GFS scenario brings widespread 3 to 6 inches with isolated 8-inch totals across Georgia, the Carolinas, even in Virginia. So this is a very dangerous situation unfolding for my friends in Tampa. So if you're in Tampa, I would recommend that you start to think about evacuating because we could be seeing a very bad hurricane event over in Tampa. So thanks for watching this evening's update on Hurricane Ian. I will continue to closely provide updates in the morning and evening on Hurricane Ian until it makes landfall in western Florida. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful evening and stay safe, my friends.